Okay, for all of you Mac users out there, which is roughly, I think, 70% of our course, I am going to show you a slightly different way to get the frequency distribution of quantitative variables. I have discussed with several of my colleagues who utilize Macs that they, when working with Excel, often have to find different ways to be able to do things, or they just use the PC that they also happen to have because Excel works the way that it was designed on a PC, but doesn't always work the way that it was designed because you're dealing with a slightly different version of Excel. So we're still going to do the frequency distributions, and we're also going to do the min and the max of all of them. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to delete a few things here. Delete. So I'm going to view, and I'm going to freeze the top row so that way you can see what I'm working with. Okay, so let's look at the min. Let's look at the max. Max minus min. And then we're also going to do a count. Okay, so equals count, and we're going to do count A. So we're going to highlight the number of cells that are not blank. And then we're going to do equals min. We highlight the array to determine the min. Equals max. Highlight the array to determine the max that is in this array. Then we do equals max minus min. Okay. And then what we're going to do is, let's see here, equals 2 raised to the 6th, which is 64. So we need to do 2 raised to the 7th, which is 128. So we're going to have a total of 7 classes, number of classes, and we're going to have that number of classes for all of them. So I'm going to make this, let's see here, text. We're going to have 7 classes for all of them, so it really doesn't matter all too much. And then for this, we don't need any dollar signs. We're just going to bring it all the way over. And so you can see here, we've got the count. Now right here is a little different because there was somebody who did not put the year that their favorite car was built. So we've got 102 right here. Then we've got 1931 for the min. Max is 2025. And so now what we're going to do is equals this, the max minus the min, divided by the number of classes, 2.8. Let's keep on rolling down. So these are the intervals. Okay, and then we have, we're going to round them up to something that's usable. So let's round this up to 15. Let's round this up to 6. Let's round this up to 75. Let's round this up to 70. We'll round this up to 30. And there is no necessarily right or wrong with what you're rounding it up to. It's just round numbers that are going to work well. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we are going to do what's referred to as a pivot table. And I'm going to show you guys how to do a pivot table. Okay. So first, what we're going to do is we are going to click on a value inside of the table that we're working with. And then we go to data, or insert rather, pivot table, and on using a Mac, it's going to be something slightly different. You might have to go to table or something to that effect. But you're going to insert a pivot table, and you are going to insert into the existing worksheet. Click on the cell that you want the pivot table to be at. Okay. So what we need to do is click on the column that you want to make a pivot table for. So what is your expected numerical grade in this course? Let's click on that, and it's going to put value right here. It's going to say sum, but we don't want the sum, so click on value and click on count, and this is going to give you a count. Okay, and then right here you're going to drag into the rows. So now you can see it made a pivot table, and it has counted all of the occurrences of every single observation. So you can see that there's 2 people who did 80, 6 people who did 85, 1 person who did 87, and so that is a frequency distribution, but it's not the frequency distribution that we want. So what you need to do is you need to click on here. Remember, we're looking at what is your expected numerical grade. We want intervals of 3, and we want a total of 7 classes. So we click on here, and we right click, and we click group. Starting at 80 by 1, or by, we want 3. So, and it's ending at 100. Okay, so 80 to 82, 83 to 85, and you can see there is a total of 7. What's it called? There's a total of 7 classes, and it gives you the frequency distribution of those 7 classes. You can also change here. If you double click, you can do expected grade distribution. Okay. And so all of a sudden you've got the expected grade frequency distribution, and you can highlight these just like this, and you can do insert table, and now you've got the frequency distribution table, and you can do the same with the polygon, and so the pivot table allows you to do that, and you can do that in on a Mac. Okay, so I'm going to run through that one more time, and also make sure that you title them. Let's see, expected grade distribution. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can do that one more time. So go to quantitative, click on any value inside of the table, insert pivot table, and then we are going to do existing worksheet, and then click on the cell that you want the pivot table to start in. Press OK, and then determine which column you want to make a pivot table for. So let's look at, for instance, how many text messages did you send yesterday? Okay, so, how many text messages did you send yesterday? So once again, it's going to default to sum of how many text messages, but I don't care about the sum. I want to know counts. So we're going to do count. And then we're going to once again drag this into rows. And you can see it's already doing everything. Okay. And then I'm going to click on this. And looking at here, okay, how many text messages did you send yesterday? We want an interval of 75, and we want a total of 7 classes. So we click on this, and we say, we right click, group, 0 to 500 by 75. Okay. And so it goes 0 to 74, 75 to 149, then 750. And if you wanted to, you can change the text. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and do 500 and change the text. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. And then, so I highlight this, and then I do insert, chart, and I've got a nice chart here. I'm going to move this over, and then I can click on this, change it 0, 10, and then I've got a pretty chart that's a frequency distribution. And then to do the relative frequency distributions, you can do equals this divided by this, and then equals divided by this, and the downside is I don't think that you can drag this. No, you can't drag it, so you're gonna have to do it each time. Or you can mess with the dollar signs inside of it. So that's a relative frequency distribution, and then equals okay. And then change these to percentages. And then you can make the cumulative frequency distribution. Okay, so to do a cumulative frequency distribution, you would have to do equals this, and you can do equals sum this, comma, this. Equals sum, comma, equals sum, equals sum. And you can tell working with pivot tables isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, but it's a workaround as compared to what I showed you how to do with Mac. So, yeah. So hopefully this explains things a little bit better. If you have any questions, please post to the discussion board, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.